What's going on, my dudes? Oscar checking in. I got an all new video for that booty. I got an all new video for you. This is an all new let's talk about. And really quick, before we get into this, I just wanted to say I am like 2 subs away from 100 subs, and that is really wild to me. So thank you to everyone that's subbed to the channel. Obviously, you don't have to if you don't want to. This is not to pressure anybody into subbing, but if you do sub, I appreciate it. It means a lot to me. Yeah, I dropped my Goodnight Boon Boon video finally. Like, I cut that video so many damn times. Like, I did, like, of the last time I think I did it like 7 times and just could not find the right tone, pitch, whatever for it. And I kept recording it. I almost said screw it. I almost called it a day and just didn't record it at all. I'll show you the panel. I mean, I'll show you the pictures, like the screenshots of the videos from my trash bin where I just kept trying to record it and it just did not flow the way would have liked it to. Finally ended up getting it. It's done. I feel so good because I recorded it once before that and I hated it. So I ended up I'd done like the first 3 volumes and it sucked. So I started back over and just did the first 2 volumes, and then that just clicked and it made sense. So now from now on it's gonna be like volumes 1. It's gonna be volumes 1 and 2, and then next video will be volumes 3 and 4. And I'm actually in the middle of volume 4 now, but this is not about that today. What we're going to be talking about is a series that I have come to feel a deep appreciation for, and this is a series that shares the same title as a film that I'd seen a long time ago called Happiness, that stars Philip Seymour Hoffman, and it is one of the weirdest and most disturbing films I've ever seen, but it's really, really well done. And this shares that same name, but it's about vampires. It's about a teenage vampire. This is Happiness. So yeah, let's do this. Let's talk about Happiness, which is really wild and kind of reminds me of like Tokyo Ghoul. It's like a mishmash, right, of like Tokyo Ghoul, Let the Right One In, and Thirst, Park Chan-wook's Thirst. And I feel like those things, kind of make the amalgamation, of this weird story that's actually really well drawn and really well written. So yeah, let's do this. Let's talk about it. I don't want to make this first part super long because I just want to like jump right into showing you guys panels, and I'll talk more in the voiceover. So let's kick it off. Let's talk about Happiness. Shuzo Oshimi's Happiness is a story that honestly gripped me from the get. There is so much detail here and yet so little dialogue. Oshimi's brilliance shines the brightest in what isn't said rather than what is. There are whole panels where not a single word is uttered, and all you get is main character Makoto Okazaki's ragged breathing. Oshimi's artwork is masterpiece level. It sometimes looks like a Picasso painting. The world around Makoto going fuzzy, haywire, even with the general absence of dialogue that drives so many other stories. This is visual storytelling at its finest. It almost feels like watching a black and white film, Nosferatu for a new age, only this is far removed from that and without the old-timey anti-Semitism. The story is bleak as all hell. Our lead is a loner. He's bullied by his classmates. He has to go get them lunch out of his own pocket. They say they'll pay him back, but of course they never will. Makoto really doesn't have anything going for him. He's small, wimpy, bespectacled. He's an easy target. As he's out and about at night, he gets happened upon by a young vampiric girl. I don't know that I'd call her a woman because she's too young, though in all honesty, she's probably hundreds of years old and just happens to look like a young girl. She sucks his blood, and as he's dying, she asks him if he wants to live, to be like she is. Makoto's world fades to black, and he wakes up the next day unaware of how he got home. Kind of like Michael in The Lost Boys, which is one of my favorite films. This isn't as sleek and cool as that film though, no shirtless sax playing. No, this story is miserable as fuck. I can handle miserable storytelling as long as it's done well, and we come to care for the characters, and don't want any harm to befall them, though inevitably it does. As Arthur Quiller Couch said in a 1914 lecture, whenever you feel an impulse to perpetrate a piece of exceptionally fine writing, obey it wholeheartedly and delete it before sending your manuscript to press. Murder your darlings. The saying was most popularized by William Faulkner as kill your darlings. Whether you're murdering them or killing them, so long as you're doing it with style and it makes sense, and the narrative is compelling, the feeling of loss or heartbreak will go a long way. One thing I hate to see in writing is things happening just because. Nothing bugs the shit out of me more than things happening just because. That's lazy storytelling. In happiness, nothing feels random, but instead is a result of action. Makoto leaves his house in the middle of the night and is happened upon by this vampire girl. She perhaps sees a spark in him and spares him. The spark ignites for Makoto and he begins to grow a pair, for lack of a better word. His biggest bully gets his nose smashed by Makoto himself, and the bully gets a much needed wake up call. He then comes to be bullied himself. That's another thing I should mention. The side characters don't feel at all generic. They have a part to play, even if it is to be cannon fodder. Still, they show emotion and communicate wants and needs. Sometimes it can be something as small as wanting a soda or commenting on the weather that tells us they're thirsty or cold, and we feel a shudder or even thirst ourselves because it connects to our empathy. Unless you're a psychopath and have no empathy. The conflict doesn't really present itself until Volume 2, but that is also where things begin to ramp up. We need this conflict to propel the story forward. Even staying at home, hiding under the covers, the conflict may come to find a person. Stranger Than Fiction is a case in point where Will Ferrell's character thinks if he stays home, he can escape death, only to have a construction crane come right through his window. What I love about Shuzo Oshimi's happiness is the conflict is subtle. This isn't Black Lagoon or High School DxD. No guns blazing, no big-titted redheads. This story feels personal and intricate. Even the cover art for each volume is subtle, nuanced. It speaks in somber tones of what can and will be found within. All you have to do is open the page and see for yourself. Alright, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Yeah, I mean it's been such a wild ride reading this manga, and one thing that's really cool too about I can't really speak to the other series that Shuzo Oshimi has done, but from reading Happiness and from these two volumes that I've read, I've only read volumes 1 and 2 so far. From these two volumes, I love his use of like imagery, right? Like there's so much other manga and different authors or whatever that like use words to convey their characters and progress the storyline. One thing that I've noticed with this series is that he really doesn't use a ton of dialogue. Like there really isn't like an over saturation of dialogue. I just mean like there isn't like a great emphasis on dialogue as much as there is more on just like visual storytelling, where it's kind of like it kind of reminds me of like a film, like an art film or something, you know, where the story is told in the visuals, in the background, and in what the characters are doing rather than what the characters are saying. And I feel like that's what this story is doing. And there's a lot of here. I want to show you panels, but I want to be careful. There's a lot more breathing than anything. She barely says anything. This whole story is kind of told in him kind of breathing, and the world around him starts to change as he kind of, you know, becomes a vampire, and he starts to like behave as if he's drunk, and everything around him becomes like a Picasso painting. And it's just the way that Shuzo Oshimi handles this story is I think really well done. His ability to morph, you know, what is essentially like a coming of age type of thing with this character, and put it together with like this vampire thing, like kind of like that movie Stakeland, where that's like a coming of age about this kid, but then there's this it's like coming of age in this vampiric setting with kind of everything around them just going to shit. And that's a really good film too. I'm sure this has nothing to do with that, but that's a solid film, and that's kind of what, like a little bit of what this reminds me of. I was just thinking about that right now. So that's there is a lot of really beautiful paneling, and you can tell that this man loves his art. He loves what he does, because everything just feels so so detail oriented, and I don't think that there are panels that are wasted, and that's what I like. That's what I like in storytelling. I want to feel like I'm always being fed story, even when there's nothing going on, even if it's just a panel with two characters. I want there to be something that kind of tells me what those characters' headspace is. And this definitely, I think this does that. There are panels where like really nothing is going on, but even though like it's just two characters, like one's in the bed and the other one's like sitting there, you kind of get the tension of the scene from them just sitting there with no action, no one saying a word, because like I said, the dialogue is so sparse, and you still get what's going on and how they're feeling and how tense the situation is just from them sitting together and from the shading. You know, the room is dark or whatever, it's not well lit, so it's shaded to be darker, and you feel that tension in the air. And I think that if this sort of, you know, incredible writing is reflected in, you know, his other stories like Inside Mari or like Flowers of Evil or Blood on the Tracks, then I am definitely excited to jump into those, because I plan on getting into Blood on the Tracks next, and then I'll eventually get into Flowers of Evil, and then maybe eventually I'll get my hands on Inside Mari. Yeah, I'm like doing so much stuff, you know, other than that, you know, like I'm trying to do these videos, and it just feels really cool that, you know, anyone actually cares like what I have to say. That means a lot to me, and I've been getting a lot of really positive feedback from you all, so thank you so much. And it's still like really cool to me, you know, like I said, I'm almost at 100 subs, and I don't know that I ever thought I'd get to 100 subs, and I know I'm acting like I hit 100,000 subs, but I mean the fact that I even got to 100 subs is wild, because I remember putting out my first video and I wasn't sure, I didn't think it was going to become anything. I was just like, hey, let me, you know, like I'm going to open up this Evangelion vinyl, so let me just put it on YouTube. And it got like 1,000 views, and then it had like, I'd gone from like 3 subs to like 24 subs, and I was like, holy hell, you know. So then I started just like, I was trying to figure out what to do with the channel, so I was just gonna like do kind of like unboxings and stuff. And I unboxed, I think, my Fallout collection, and then somewhere in there I started just saying, you know what, let me just talk about manga. So then that kind of came into being, and now I'm almost at 100 subs, and people, you know, care what I have to say, and that's really cool to me, that anybody would, you know, spend time and you know, be a part of this. And I've started to try to really grow with this channel and expand my content and make something real, something legitimate, something that will stand the test of time. I've almost been on YouTube for a year now. Like that video dropped like May 3rd of last year, and we are in April now, so it's almost been a year, which is really wild. And like I have so much stuff coming, you know, like I'm dropping a shelf video next week. I'm going to be recording it next weekend, and then probably the weekend after that is when it will drop from this weekend, because I actually just dropped my Goodnight Boom Boom video today. You're not going to be seeing this video that I'm recording right now until next week. Yeah, I mean, I have so much stuff coming, and I'm excited for all of it, and I can't wait for you all to see what I have in store. So thank you so much for hanging out with me. It really does mean the world to me. I'm not just saying that to say it. So please take care of yourselves, and until the next time we come to meet, until next time we meet, take care.